Welcome back to another episode of Critically Incorrect, your weekly gaming podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, online here today with Charlie, if you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, no episode last week. Once again, join the Discord if you're not already a part of it. To put it shortly, essentially, we just both had like things that we were doing last week kind of made it hard for both of us to record, so we figured we'd push it back a week. And then, yeah, now we are here with episode 67 with a lot of cool gaming news over the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, we'll jump right into things. But as we always talk about, obviously what we've been playing in terms of games wise. So, Charlie, over the last 2 weeks or so, what have you been up to playing?
Yeah, so last week the reason for me why we didn't record is I actually upgraded my PC, although I'm not using it right now because it ended up being that the motherboard's faulty, so I'm back on the old PC again. But for most of last week, I was kind of putting that together and just playing through games on there. Playing a lot of Battlefield, just I've been really enjoying going and playing a few matches each day, doing the weekly challenges and stuff. So I've been playing a decent amount of that. I did also go on to Beat Saber for a couple hours to play the new tracks because they added in that the electro whatever something pack they added that's got like a load of like famous electronic music. So that pack's really good. I enjoyed that one. So I played a decent amount of that. Um, Also played some more Vampire Blood Hunt, just because I've enjoyed that for a match or two. It's not something I can play loads, but it's fun to hop on now and again. As for like this week, I played a couple hours of Soundfall, which did come out this week, which is like a rhythm based rogue like dungeon crawler type thing. It's got like levels that you work your way through as the story, but you can also just like free play levels to get like better gear. You can also import like your own MP3s as well. So it's got like I think 100 tracks in the game from various artists, but you can also just put in your own music that you have on your PC, which is really cool. So I just downloaded some albums online and loaded those into the game, which is pretty fun. So I've played little bit of that, which has been cool. And then the main game, the last few days I've been playing, was Evil Dead the game, which also came out this week, which I've been having a lot of fun with. I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead films and TV show, like just all of Sam Raimi's stuff. So I was very excited about the game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's I've been playing it with a variety of mates. Played a bit with Brandon and Kim today, which was a lot of fun. And then it's got like single player missions in there, so I've played through some of those. But overall, really enjoying that game. Definitely going to be playing a lot more of that, I think. Hopefully, going to scratch kind of like the 4v1 itch because I haven't been playing many of those games recently, and I used to play a lot like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th. So I think it's probably going to take that slot in my games that I play with a few of my mates. But apart from that, that's been it, I think.
Nice, right on. Yeah, in terms of what I've been playing, not terribly much. Evil Dead, like Charlie said, I just picked it up today and we played probably for about 2 hours or so in total with me, Kim, and you. That was really fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There are still some like quirks with it. Like I disconnected like twice, which is kind of annoying, but the gameplay loop is really solid. It's a lot more action packed than I realized. I didn't really look too much into it before I bought it. I saw like the trailers we've seen at like the Game Awards and stuff, but I always assumed it would be like more kind of closer to like Dead by Daylight slash Friday the 13th. I never really played Friday the 13th, but I think this is definitely closer to that than Dead by Daylight for sure. It's a lot more action packed. Learning the ropes of it, it's a pretty fun game. Really satisfying to play, and if you have a bunch of people that know what they're doing, it's a good time. So yeah, like you, I'm planning on playing this as like my main like co-op slash multiplayer game with friends. Nice to see that it's landing pretty well. I haven't actually seen the movies. That's like a spot that I haven't addressed in terms of my movie I guess whole. So I'll have to go watch those movies to better understand like the characters and stuff. Especially since it's directed by Sam Raimi, I definitely want to see that. So yeah. Besides that, I haven't played terribly much. I still haven't gotten back to Elden Ring, but I have played like a few movement-based games because the game I'm currently working on for school with some friends are, very movement-based. So I wanted to kind of get some inspiration on like how other games tackle movement. So I kind of jumped into like Mirror's Edge for like a few minutes, but honestly, it was kind of slow. So I ended up moving on to Ghost Runner. I played that for a bit, just to get the sense of the movement. Also, I ended up buying Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which I think is the game they're currently remaking, right, for
Yeah.
Ubisoft. Yeah, I played through like the first 45 minutes or so of that game. It's pretty fun. Just really solid. I'm like debating whether I want to go back to it or if I should just wait for the remake at this point, because yeah, that's still coming soon. So we'll see. And then I picked up a new game, Katana Zero. I say new game for me. Obviously, this game's been around for a while, and I'm currently like an hour into that. It's just been a game I played at nighttime, just like right before I go to sleep, just if I want to play something, that's kind of like brainless fun. So that game's really solid, really good use of game feel. Like it really feels super solid to play, especially on controller. So yeah, that's been what I've been up to. Yeah, we'll see what else I could fit in. Definitely gonna play some more Evil Dead as the week goes on, and um, eventually I want to go back to Elden Ring. But I don't know. I just haven't had the desire to go back to it, just because I don't know. I feel like I gotta think a lot when I play that game, and lately I've been like tired whenever I want to play games. So yeah, we'll see. Anyways, we'll move into the releases this week. In terms of this week in particular, only two: Evil Dead the game, as we've talked about a lot before, and then Soundfall. This is a game Charlie has experience with. He told me he played it at like an expo a few years back. Essentially, it's like a dungeon crawler meets, go with the rhythm. Pretty interesting game. Did they announce the release date at the Nintendo Indie thing, or is this separate?
I think they teased last week that it was coming soon, and then at
Okay,
the indie direct, it was like a shadow drop, which is kind of cool.
nice. So yeah, that is also out this week, and then like Truck no Yomi or whatever that game's called, the one by Devolver Digital, that's out as of last week. So go check that out if that interests you. And then yeah, I think that's pretty much the majority of like the big releases. So we'll get into the gaming news for the week, at least the last 2 weeks. So yeah, we'll start off with a news story I'm actually not too familiar with. So Charlie, if you want to take it off with the first one here.
Yeah, this literally was I saw was posted like minutes or like hours before we recorded, so this is a pretty
Hmm.
recent one.
Okay.
But Glenn Schofield, who works at Striking Distance, the guys who are working on Callisto Protocol, basically posted some like close up artwork of one of the monsters and said, if you're not already, you might want to follow the Callisto Protocol on social media for next week. So it seems like next week they're going to be announcing something. I imagine it's going to be another like teaser, probably saying that they're going to be at Summer Game Fest, if I had to guess. Just because Jeff Keighley did post that he visited the studio like a month or two ago. So they were probably showing off some gameplay to Jeff that is probably going to get shown off at the event. Obviously, they revealed the game back at Game Awards in like what 2020.
Something like
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was 2020. I don't think it was the last one, was it? I think it was the one before
No,
that.
it's definitely been like a year at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so and they haven't announced any delays for it, so as far as we know, it's still on track for this year. So yeah, it's one I'm really looking forward to. So I'm excited to get our first like glimpse at gameplay, hopefully soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely one of the highlights from that Game Awards. That was like a little over a year ago, just because the mood and atmosphere looked such like Dead Space, right? Like it looked really cool, which was the point. So yeah, I'm definitely down to see more news on that. So yeah, we're in the time period of like pre quote unquote E3. This used to be like the time period where like the people that won't be at E3 or at least would tease stuff prior. So within the next month, we'll see a lot of news, which is exciting. And yeah, so we'll look forward to that. Uh, Silent Hill news story, surprisingly, is here this week, and for once, it actually is quite credible. So earlier this week, like a known insider has essentially posted like some cover or like some concept art for the upcoming rumored Silent Hill title, which looks to be taking place in Britain or something. That looks like there's it looks like it's taking place in Britain based on the concept art. And essentially, what happened is this was pretty quickly taken down by Konami, which kind of verifies the legitimacy of this, right? So that probably means this stuff is real. I haven't looked into it too much, but I think he's a known insider for just Konami in general, which a lot of people follow him on Twitter. Aesthetic Gamer, if you want the specific handle. And yeah, everywhere you go online, essentially, you'll see it's been taken down by the copyright holder, which is Konami. And yeah, in the past, he's kind of just said that, like, I believe the game's going to be announced somewhat soon, but yeah, obviously it's been pushed back. Apparently, it's still supposed to be tied with Sony in some way, so who knows? I know this is like one of many games because I think we reported like or covered in the past that like Bloober Team was working on one, and then there was one that was with Sony. So yeah, I don't know if it's been confirmed which one this is, but what do you know about this, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, similar to you, like I saw this stuff the other day. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see what one this is. I don't think he even was really sure what one it is. But as
Hmm.
far as he knows, I think he mentioned that it is being done by a Japanese studio, so it is probably the not the Bloober one, unless there's a Japanese team helping them out with the game. Um, I'm definitely interested to see what it ends up being. Obviously, no matter what happens, I feel like people are going to be disappointed in it when they see Kojima's not doing it. But um, yeah, I'm interested to see how it turns out. I know the guy who leaked it was the guy who leaked Resident Evil Village, way back
Yeah, he was one of the
before that was
prominent
a thing.
leakers.
Basically saying how it was going to have werewolves and it was set in a village and it might have been called Village, but they didn't have a title at the time. And it was still going to start Ethan Winters and stuff. So I think that was the big thing that he's like most credible for. So people are believing that this is probably legit. Plus, obviously, the artwork got taken down, which is always a good sign for that kind of thing. And then I think also the like ex like director for one of the Silent Hill games like tweeted saying like if you decide to leak information, then you clearly don't care about the game you're working on or something like that. So people were taking that as he saw the leak, and he might not be working on the game, but he's probably referring to the Silent Hill stuff, so he might know something. So yeah, it definitely seems like it's legit. When we'll see this game, who fucking knows, man? I feel like we hear about Silent Hill every year, so I don't know anymore. We'll see it when we see it.
Yeah, I'm at that point where I don't care. Like, there's a lot of people that are still following Sony and like want to know when God of War Ragnarok is coming out, and like I'm gonna state where I just don't care. Like, this new story just comes out, and then when it happens, it happens. Yeah, it's just nothing worth losing sleep over. That's cool to see. Definitely interested in seeing how this comes out. Obviously, it's not gonna be by like Kojima himself, obviously. So, still like lower expectations, but hopefully Konami has a sense that this will be quality since a lot of people have been waiting a while for Silent Hill's return. So we'll see it when we see it, and hopefully it'll look good. Anyways, kind of like a report follow up of what we've been talking about for like the last month with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, as we've been calling it. Well, we have a better name to call it now, and that's Star Wars Jedi Survivor, according to Jeff Grubb. Alongside this, I believe he's been saying that it's going to be showcased at the Star Wars Celebration, which is apparently going to be at the end of the month. Charlie and I apparently we both thought it would be at May 4th, which
Yeah.
for good reason, just because it is the day. But yeah, I guess it doesn't usually happen on May 4th. It usually happens at the end of May. So it's still on track. We were just kind of being dumb about that. So in the next 2 weeks or so, we should see it towards the end of May. And yeah, that's apparently the running title. No idea when it's coming out. I want to say it probably would be the end of the year, right? Like it feels like about time for it to be, releasing and, Star Wars games should come out in December. That's usually when like all the big movies come out. That's when like the previous game came out, I want to say. So seems to be in that November December timeframe. Hopefully. What'd you think about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I think Jeff said during the stream he mentioned this on that he's been hearing more recently that it's probably going to be early next year. Um,
Okay.
I think what was saying before is that he was hearing that it would either be end of this year or early next year, but they weren't entirely sure whether to push it back or not. And then he was also hearing about how it might be next gen only or it might not be. And I think more recently he's been hearing that it's just next gen. So early next year seems more plausible, just because EA might be wanting to see if holiday time more people buy next gen consoles, so it'll probably boost sales if it releases early next year.
True.
Even though I'm sure it'll do great no matter what. As for the title, he was holding off on saying it, and then someone in chat guessed it, so that he then basically confirmed it because someone guessed. Um,
That's fucking
so
wild.
yeah, that seems to be the title. I don't know how I feel about it. It sounds kind of weird. I don't know. It doesn't sound as cool as the first game, so I'm not sure how I feel about the title. But either way, I guess that's what it's gonna be. I also because with the celebration thing, they still haven't announced a panel, but I did actually tweet at Jeff Grubb. I responded to his tweet about this and I asked him if it was still like I think it was in his Summer Games Mess tweet or whatever. And he still had it on there, and I basically asked him, I was like, "Is it still going to be at Celebration? Because there's no panel announced." And he was basically saying he's pretty sure that it's there in some form, but he's not sure if it'll be a panel or not. So it might just be during that weekend they just show a trailer, and announce like some gameplay is going to come in a few weeks. I would say EA Play, but I know they're not doing that this year. So um, I imagine it'll
EA
get
is
some kind
doing
of
their whenever
showcase of
it's
its
ready
own thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine much like Dead Space has gotten dev streams, they'll probably do like some gameplay reveal type stream with um Star Wars. So yeah, I imagine we get like a CG trailer like we did for Jedi Fallen Order back like 2019, and then we get some gameplay later in the summer, more E3 time frame. But yeah, not long to wait now for it either way.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Looking forward to that for sure. Yeah, this is definitely high on the list. I loved the first one. It definitely had like some issues with like performance and stuff like that, but like I don't know, like it was like a new IP, obviously, right? And like how good it like was for a new IP, I feel like the sequel will be pretty impressive. We always see that with like sequels that like they take the lessons learned from the original game, and like usually sequels are really impressive. So the fact that like in my eyes, Jedi Fallen Order was like a 8 out of 10 or like, something like that, like is a great game. Yeah, I have high expectations for the second one. I feel like Respawn for sure. We'll probably knock it out of the park, hopefully, and yeah, hopefully we'll see that whenever we see the game next. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anyways, Summer Game Fest has a date for their opening showcase, and that is June 9th. So yeah, obviously last year it was a decent showcase. There was like, I don't know, there was like some cool mid games. Obviously, it was like the first like, well, I guess the second time. Well, first I think real big showing because like the first technically Summer Game Fest was just a bunch of Jeff's like live streams at his house talking to developers. This was like the first actual like kind of big show he did. It had like a bunch of decent games, I guess you could say, and it ended with Elden Ring, which was the big one people took out of that. So hopefully he'll have more backing now that he's proven himself last year. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. June 9th is exciting. That's like that typical like E3 time period. I think what is it? Microsoft's like June 11th or something like that, just 2 days
I think it's
later.
13th,
So
something like that.
13th, okay. So essentially the same thing, like as always, it's that E3 period week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, nothing really to say because it's just a date. But what do you have to say about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I enjoyed last year's showcase. I thought it was pretty strong overall. Like Jeff's kind of gotten onto a roll with his events now. Like he knows what people want, and he does a pretty good job with it. And I imagine it's going to be pretty big compared to last year. I mean, last year's showcase was good, right? Obviously the big thing was Elden Ring. And I'm sure with how well it did last year, he's probably gotten some bigger games and bigger names here this year. But I think there's potential for a lot of stuff that I wanted to see showing up here, so I'm definitely quite excited about this one.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to that. And hopefully it'll be a cool show. Anyways, speaking of showcases, there's one that's coming out just in a few days here, and that's 505 Games. They're doing a showcase on May 17th, and they've said that they're doing updates on existing games, and then they said there might be a surprise or two, so that should be exciting. 505 Games is obviously a publisher. They published many games in the past, most notably like Control is one they published with Remedy, I think, and a bunch of other, decent-sized titles, so yeah, nothing really to speculate on that aspect, but yeah, what are you thinking about that show, Charlie? Do you have anything like any predictions or anything that you expect to see at the showcase, or kind of just you know taking in whatever they
Yeah,
give you?
I don't really have any like predictions for it because other than Control, I can't think of like any massive like 505 games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if one of the surprises or whatever is maybe that like Control multiplayer game that I know they've been working on because I think 505 are publishing that. So that I mean, there's a possibility that shows up here because they have been working on that a while. So maybe that, or maybe even a Control sequel announcement. I don't know, because like Remedy are working on so much at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce something like that. But I definitely think that multiplayer co-op type game is something that could get announced here. But other than that, I have no idea what they could show off.
Yeah, they have a it's like not really like stable like what kind of games they publish. They do a bunch of random stuff. So like they've done Sniper Elite 3, Payday 2, Brother: A Tale of Two Sons, Terraria, Redout, Deep Black, Abzu, Adrift, Dead by Daylight, Control, Unturned, and then they did the Death Stranding PC port. It's like a bunch of like random games. So honestly, like yeah, this could be anything. So I guess that's exciting, right? You never know what they're gonna show here. Uh, but yeah, just going with low expectations, but should be pretty cool. And yeah, we'll move on to Alan Wake 2, and this is updates on essentially, obviously, what I believe Sam Lake said back at the Game Awards when they announced this. And I remember back then he said that we're going to be seeing gameplay in the summer. He now pushed that back and said that they're essentially prioritizing quality and they'll show it when they want to show it. And then Alan Wake Remastered is coming to Switch. So yeah, obviously we saw the remaster come to like every platform besides Switch last fall. So yeah, it is coming to Switch now, which is cool. And then there's an Alan Wake TV show being made by AMC. Is this the same AMC that does The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, damn, that's actually a cool get. Okay. Yeah, they also do Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, so they're decently a good, outlet for that. So yeah, I'm down for that. I didn't even know that was a thing until just reading that now, so that's cool. So yeah, I'm definitely down for that. As the big Alan Wake fan that you are, give me your thoughts on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame we're not gonna get gameplay this summer, but at the same time, like, I'd much rather they just showed it when it's ready, right? Because obviously they don't want to take time away from the devs to make a stable build of the game that they can record some footage on. So, um, I'm totally fine with it being delayed. If it means we get a better game and a cooler reveal in the long run, then I'm all for it. And I've waited like over 10 years for this game. I can wait, a couple months longer for a reveal. I imagine the gameplay will either be like Halloween time, if not Game Awards, would be my guess, is when we actually see gameplay for it now. Um, as for the remaster coming to Switch, it's cool. I'm surprised it hasn't come sooner. It does seem like it's quite early in development because they just kind of showed it in the anniversary video and were like, "Hey, we're working on it," but it didn't look very stable in the video or anything. But it's just kind of
Hmm.
like, yeah, it's something we're doing. So that's cool. It's coming. As for the TV show, I feel like they've been working on the show for almost as long as the sequel. Like I seem to remember a show being announced way back when the game like first came out, but it's never had like a network for it. They've written bits of it and like the pilot and stuff, but they've just never gotten a network. So that was the big thing here, is that they have signed on with AMC. So they said they didn't really have anything else to say. Like they don't have a date or like directors or anything yet, but they have got a network now, which is cool. And AMC, like you said, is a pretty big network. Obviously, they're most known for like Walking Dead and Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. There's not really any other shows that they're like crazily known for, so um, I'm interested to see how this turns out. Um, Especially because like I feel like network TV is kind of on its last legs, right? Like I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of it's going streaming now, so it'll be interesting to see how well that does, because I feel like I most people who like the game aren't gonna be like super into a TV show, considering how there's already kind of live action stuff in the game. So I don't know, could be interesting. I'll definitely check it out once they start showing some, or at least talking about it a bit more. But it's cool nonetheless.
They saw the comparisons of Quantum Break being compared to a TV show, and they're like, all right, we'll just
Yeah.
adapt Alan Wake into an actual TV show.
Well, they
It is
had
a weird
actual
one.
episodes, right? So
Yeah, that's true. It's a weird one because I imagine it'd only be one season for the first game. Cause I don't know, I don't think you could split that into like
yeah.
2 seasons worth of content. So it's a weird one to do, but I guess it could be cool for like a one season event. And if the sequel does well, they'll do a season two based on the sequel. Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, details are kind of scarce at the moment. They just signed up with them, but yeah, it's a game I wouldn't have predicted because I feel like Alan Wake is like a really underrated game. So it's a weird pick for live action adaptation. So it totally works for AMC because like it totally fits like the dark kind of story grounded focus that they are. But yeah, interesting. Anyways, a sad news story has come out, and that's the fact that Starfield and Redfall have both been delayed to 2023. So obviously this is tied to Bethesda. Starfield, I wasn't surprised. Redfall, it also doesn't really surprise me either, just because we just recently got Deathloop and stuff like that, and I know they have like separate teams and stuff, but yeah, it still didn't surprise me that much. Essentially, you know, they're just working on it, and it's the same thing as always, right? They need more time. They weren't gonna, you know, be able to finish it in time, so you know they're pushing it back, and I believe to just 2023. I believe at the moment there's no like time period in there. Makes me wonder what we're gonna see at the June showcase next month, specifically for Starfield, because usually they like to do like a lot of information before it comes out, like 5 6 months before. But I could see Starfield being delayed to like November. I don't know. Usually Bethesda always likes to drop their games, and like at least you know the Bethesda like developed games are usually out in the fall. So I'm wondering if this is gonna be a 1 year delay for Starfield. And then Redfall obviously is the open world co-op game by what's the I always forget their name. Arcane, right? Yeah.
Arcane
Um,
Austin, yeah.
yeah, Arcane Austin. It's the different yeah, Arcane. So yeah, I'm looking forward to both of these games. Obviously, more probably to Redfall, just because I don't know. I like Arcane quite a bit, but it is what it is. I wasn't surprised by this by any means, but I'm sure a lot of people are heartbroken that their most anticipated 2023 game is gone. And I guess this solidifies Elden Ring probably getting Game of the Year, because both Breath of the Wild and Starfield are no longer coming out this year. So, what are your thoughts on that, Charlie?
Yeah, Starfield didn't surprise me at all, to be honest. Like, I fully expected that could. I mean, I expected it could go either way. Either they released it in November and it would probably be super fucking buggy, or they delay it. Redfall is a bit weirder because that was meant to be coming out this summer, so that's a bit more of a notable delay. I know all they've said for time frame is for both of them. They just said first half of 2023.
Oh, okay.
Um, whether I mean Starfield could still get pushed back, right? Like, because like you, I think it would make more sense if it's at the end of the year, just because I feel like they always release their games at the end of the year. Um, but yeah, Redfall's a weird one because, like I said, that was announced for summer this year. There has they haven't shown any gameplay officially, but there has been like leaked gameplay of that's come out the past few months that I remember seeing. It looked pretty cool. But yeah, that one shocked me because I was fully expecting that would hit. Just because Arcane Austin haven't released a game in well this summer, or actually, I think it might have already been like 5 years. So they've been working
It
on
was
that game a
Prey. It
while
was the
now.
last one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Prey was the last game they worked on themselves. They probably helped on Deathloop, but it wasn't their
Yeah.
main project. Um, so yeah, I'm surprised that got such a big delay. I imagine we'll get like a proper gameplay reveal at E3 though, which would be cool. Same with Starfield, to be honest. I'll be shocked if they don't still show gameplay at least of Starfield. Um, but yeah, like Starfield doesn't surprise me. Redfall a bit more so, but it's for the best. I don't know how this like bodes well at all for like Xbox. Like they don't have a big release for the end of the year now. Because you know that was going to be their big thing. So I don't really know what Xbox's plan is now, and I'm sure they're a bit worried themselves. But you know, at least they felt confident enough to delay it. It was good that they actually wanted to do that. So yeah, I don't know what their plan is, but hopefully it will kind of look a bit clearer in a couple weeks when we see their E3 show.
Probably got a Forza game, I imagine, for October or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
besides that, who knows? Yeah, it sucks. It's just the reality of game development. Like these games take 5 to 6 years now. It's crazy. Uh, I miss the days of the PS3 era where it's like what 1 to 2 year turnarounds is absolutely crazy. Um, yeah, just obviously we live in a different era now where these games are much larger and require a lot more people and time. So yeah. Anyways, moving on. Dead Space Remake got a date for January 27th of 2023. I think I could speak for all of us that were surprised it's this soon, just because it was like nearly a year ago when we saw like prototype footage of them showing off and like just still images, and it just looked very early. So the fact that this could possibly be out in like a little over 6 months is kind of weird. Um, I was talking to Charlie about this before the show. We both kind of expect this to be delayed, but if not, that's like a good time period to drop because obviously January is like a really good time frame. We almost see like a lot of horror games come out now in like early January because like usually Resident Evil does the same thing or at least tries to. And now we're seeing Dead Space take that spot. I think it's a good solid pick. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Charlie? Although I'm pretty sure they're pretty similar to mine.
Yeah, I was really shocked as well. I could definitely see this moving, but at the same time, they seemed very confident in the date when they were talking about it on the stream. They were basically saying how like they've just done their full like first studio playthrough of the game, start to finish. So they feel like they're in a pretty good state now to start polishing up the game and things. So, um, I know all the rumors were saying that they were initially aiming for October for like a Halloween release, and then they asked for a few extra months. So this definitely is plausible that the game is in a pretty good state right now. They just want the extra months from when it was initially gonna release just to polish it up a bit. Um, but yeah, it is still crazy that like it was revealed last year and it seemed pretty early on from the announcement and stuff. But um, yeah, its development has obviously gone really well for it, which is good to see. So definitely excited to see some footage from it. In the stream, they said they're probably going to keep their heads down until Halloween time, like October, and that's when they'll do like a gameplay reveal. So I wouldn't expect to see anything until then. But yeah, excited for this one. Hopefully, it doesn't get delayed, but I wouldn't be shocked.
It's cool to see how open they've been. Like I like the idea of just doing these streams, especially for like a remake that fans have been waiting for to make sure it gets right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and yeah, just the whole idea that EA is doing now is where they're not gonna have like a specific event. They're just gonna showcase like certain games whenever they're ready. I'm not sure how that will do well marketing wise, but at least in terms of showcases, it makes the most sense to just show it when it's ready, right? So that's really really cool. And speaking of showing games when they're ready, we finally got Gotham Knights news. Yeah, they finally showed off some gameplay earlier this week. Alongside this was the announcement that the game's coming out October 25th for only next generation consoles and PC. So yeah, no longer PS4 and Xbox One, which is kind of surprising, but also probably just the reality. They're playing the game performance wise. They probably just saw it as a bottleneck and decided to make it next gen only. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Charlie? I guess I'll ask you first since you're the big DC fan.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about the gameplay first, online has had like a massive like negative reaction to it. I'm definitely nowhere near as negative. Like, I definitely see why people aren't happy with it. I don't think it looks amazing. I still think it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm probably gonna enjoy it, especially as a DC fan. But I can see the complaints with like the menus and stuff. They do look kind of like mobile game, but also they just look like a normal RPG to me. I feel like people are reading into it a bit too much. But the game still looks fun. As for the cancellation, I'm honestly really shocked that it got cancelled on PS4 and Xbox just because of the IP, right? Like it's a DC game. Like I feel
Hmm.
like they're gonna lose a lot of sales by doing this, but I feel like the only way they would have done this, or the only reason why, is if it literally couldn't have come out on those consoles. So they've probably been having a lot of issues getting it to run smoothly on there, and they probably just went, "Hey, we don't want a Cyberpunk on our hands here. We just need to delay, or not delay the game, but we just need to cancel those versions just so we can focus on the consoles and PC where we know we can get the game running smoothly, performing properly." So yeah, definitely a shock that they cancelled it, but it seems like it's probably going to be for the best. I just think people need to start to realize that we're nearly 2 years into the life cycle now. Like it makes sense that a lot of games are going to be exclusive to current gen now. um it's long enough at this point, so a lot less is probably going to start coming to PS4 and stuff now.
Yeah, I agree. It's usually that time period where you start to see that compatibility drop off. Although I'm sure this generation might be a little bit more lenient since obviously the architectures are just so similar. It's a lot different of a story when like you couldn't really develop PS3 games when it was like a cell architecture,
Yeah.
or at least it would be a different ordeal for compatibility reasons. So we'll see, but I definitely agree when now we're seeing that cutoff point. In terms of what I thought about the gameplay, I've only seen like a few minutes of it just before we started recording. I don't think it looks that great, to be honest. I don't think it looks terrible, but like I don't think it looks that great. Um, yeah, just something feels off. Like the streets feel really dead. The combat feels awfully like clunky or at least slow paced compared to the Arkham games. Like I was looking at combat for the Arkham games like side by side, and just Batman was moving like so fluidly compared to like all the characters in this game. Um, I don't think like it looks too terrible. Like the UI definitely looks really mobile based. Like it's probably the worst UI I've seen in years for a game, but like that's not make or break it for me. Again, the story looks really interesting with Gotham Knights and stuff, or the Court of Owls storyline being the one adapted. But yeah, besides that, I'm unsure if I'll pick it up. It just depends on how well the gameplay feels and how well the story is perceived by like reviewers and stuff. But yeah, I hope it just delivers. Just because like a lot of DC fans have been waiting like what 5 years or so since, oh maybe 6 years now since Batman Arkham VR, which technically wasn't even probably a lot of things. A lot of people probably haven't played that since they don't have VR. So really since Batman Arkham Knight. So yeah, it's crazy.
7 years.
Uh, yeah, 7 years. This game definitely had development hell, as I'm sure also Suicide Squad has had. So yeah, sad to see. Just hopefully, this was just a poor showing of it, and by the time October rolls around, it will be a lot better. I mean, they definitely saw the dislikes on that video, so
Yeah.
yeah, they definitely, hopefully, will try to address that in the coming months before launch. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll move on to a cool news story, and this has to do with Valve and NoClip. Essentially, NoClip obviously did a documentary, I believe, on Return the Ravenholm, like a few months back, or maybe even a year. I don't know, my
It was
time
it
perception.
was, I think it was over a year ago now. Yeah, they did one
Yeah,
on
time
like all of
perception.
Arcane.
Yeah, it was crazy. Essentially, the new footage here, or like the new development on this new story, is the fact that Danny O'Dwyer from NoClip got the right away from Valve and Arcane and everyone else to at least kind of his footage of Return to Ravenholm, since he was able to play it when he went over there. So yeah, like I believe an hour of footage, as you said, Charlie, is now released online. So that's really really cool. I know a lot of people in the Valve community will be really happy just because this has been like a known thing for years now that has just been talked about like off the record, but it's like now nice to see that it's become a lot more public knowledge, and at least with footage now being apparent. It's cool to see it just see the light of day, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm glad he got to reveal it. Like he said, like he's had the footage for so long and he's wanted to release it mainly just for game preservation, right? Because they've got like this game that is nowhere near finished, but they had a lot of it playable that just no one that is ever going to experience it outside of Arcane. So the fact that they were able to reveal it just so people can at least see it is really cool. I did get a chance to sit down and watch most of it, and it's really cool stuff. It's just a shame that it'll most likely never be playable, right? Like I would love if Arcane could just go back and just get the go ahead from Valve and polish it up and just release it, but that would just never happen. Um, I'm sure that there's people at Arcane that would love to do that. Um, but like they know they have something special because I just remember watching the No Clip documentary and they literally say like they have it on this one computer in the office and whenever they hire someone new at Arcane they give them the opportunity to sit down and play through it when they first join the studio, which I think is so cool. Like they just know that the game's really good and that people want to play it, so they just have it there preserved, which is awesome to see. So yeah, hope I'd love to see it one day get released in some capacity, but for now, this is cool and it's nice to see the footage finally.
That's awesome. That's funny. That's like a kind of like a ritual they do when they get a new
Rite of
recruit
passage.
to play that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Anyways, probably the biggest news story that has developed in the last 2 months, or 2 weeks rather, has been with Square Enix. So, yeah, this was pretty big news just about a week or so ago. They sold their Western studios and IPs to Embracer Group for 300 million. So, the studios affected with this are like Crystal Dynamics, alongside Eidos Montreal, so like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, and a bunch of other ones. Like I think their Toronto studio or Montreal studio, which had like Sleeping Dogs as well. So a lot of IPs are now belonging to Embracer Group. It's currently up in the air what they're gonna do with them. Obviously, we know that Tomb Raider is currently in development still for Unreal Engine 5. Probably still going to be Square Enix based since it started in development with Square Enix, but everything past that I'm sure will be different. So yeah, Sleeping Dogs possibility of a sequel is exciting. It just depends on if Embracer Group wants to try that out. In terms of my overall reaction to this, I was like negative at first just because Embracer Group always seems to be like, buying up a bunch of studios, and that's kind of a little bit scary in a way, monopolization, even though it's like not to that extent just quite yet. But I think in this case, it's probably for the better just because Square Enix has seemed to be a little bit incompetent with dealing with their Western studios as of late. Just for like, I know there was that one message on like an earnings call like a few months ago of essentially the CEO kind of blaming Crystal Dynamics for the what happened with Avengers, even though a lot of it was on Square Enix's attempts to like make a live action game or a live service game off of the Avengers IP, right? So I don't know, just a lot of kind of shitty things with their Western studios, and obviously Sleeping Dogs hasn't been revived, even though a lot of people want that. So I feel like it could be good and could be for the better. Square Enix has been thriving with like their Japanese IPs, but I feel like they've been kind of fumbling with their Western side at least for a little bit now. So I'm open to this. Hopefully, Embracer Group will manage it a bit better, and we'll see some pretty cool things come out of these IPs. What are your thoughts on this, Charlie?
Yeah, I was pretty excited about the news overall, just because, like you said, Square Enix have really underutilized their Western studios over the past few years. Especially like Eidos Montreal, right? Like they worked on Deus Ex and had to put it on hold to work on Guardians, but it's cool to see, they're getting to keep a lot of those IPs as they get acquired. Obviously, this does mean we're probably not gonna get a Guardians sequel, which sucks because I loved Guardians. So it's a shame that's not gonna happen, but it probably means they're gonna get to go back and work on Deus Ex now. Um, More importantly, like I really hope this means that somebody is going to make a Sleeping Dogs sequel. I love that game, so I hope that we finally get a sequel to that. Obviously, United Front were working on a sequel way back when, but it never got picked up. So
That
you know,
studio is canned, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, it was canned. Yeah, after they did that online game, was it Triad Wars? I think it was called, which is like the online Sleeping Dogs game, and it just never
Hmm.
launched properly. And it just ran. I think they ran out of funding. Um, but yeah, I'd love some studio, please pitch Sleeping Dogs 2 to Embracer like now. Get that in
Yeah.
development. I need that game in my life. Yeah, that's like the one I'm most excited about. But it's cool they got to keep like Crystal got to keep like the Tomb Raider IP and stuff, which is great to see. So yeah, overall I definitely think it's for the best. Just because Square Enix have really been underutilizing those studios for years now.
Hmm. I have a personal story of Sleeping Dogs just because, like, I think it was like I was like 7 or 8 or maybe 9, like probably 7 or 8. And I was just on the internet, like looking at game videos, right? And I came across like an E3 video from like 2007 or 2008. Obviously, I was very young, so I didn't understand what E3 was, but I remember seeing footage of Sleeping Dogs and this guy like parkouring around, like the market and stuff like that. And I was like yeah, it sold me on that game. I remember like finding out about it like later when I was like 11. I was like, finally, this is the game I saw. Because obviously I was like 8 or 7, so I didn't really know the name of the game. I just saw it
Yeah,
briefly. So it's cool to see that possibly get a chance for a sequel now, as that was like the first game I ever saw like technically on the internet, like E3 wise, which is cool. But yeah, that has wrapped it up for episode 67. A lot of cool news has developed over the last 2 weeks, and I'm sure, this is only just the start as we enter, the busy month that is usually June for the gaming industry. And yeah, with that being said, thank you, of course, for watching through the whole entire episode, and we'll see you next week for episode 68. Take care.
see you later.